Part 31. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 304. Chapter 304, Forbidden Land, Little Heavenly Realm. Let's go. After the time of the 2 stick of incense, the old man in the black robe stretched out a coldly wave, only to see the black coffin under his body vacating, plunging toward the black fog in the back. At the same time, his hand appeared a blood-red ancient mirror. The edge of ancient mirror is also covered with a small circle of gimmicks. Vertex novels, handwriting novels. The bloody red brilliance was sprayed in the mouth of these hoes, forming a blood-red divine light screen with a radius of more than 10 feet. As soon as I saw the old man in the black robe enter the black fog, the hundreds of cultivators under him also rushed out to sacrifice various shape-shift great art pieces. For a moment, the entire slope of the hills covered with stairs, ghosts, and wolries. A moment of time, this hillside is empty. After about half an hour, the secret place was more than 100,000 miles, covering a secret place on the north side of the great grey treasure island of various spiritual fogs and brilliance. The invisible spirit light suddenly had a sharp distortion on the wall. Then a silver light beam rushed in. After the disappearance of the silver light, more than 200 cultivators immediately came in from the secret place rip. There are only a half of the 200 cultivators, all of which are controls. A flame lotus stand that stands only one person. The flame lotus platform passes the naked body, and the tumbling flame is half a person high, but on the cultivator standing on it, it seems that there is no threat. Led by the 2 surging sound potential, then all the cultivator add up all have to foot. The power concussion world, is obviously golden core stage cultivator, one of the face only 30 teenage hair, body wearing a white shapeshift great art dress without any decorations. The body emits white spiritual chi, above the top of which is formed the Buddhist scriptures in the Sutra of God King Travel, the head covered with a great treasure umbrella shape, the weather than the normal golden core stage. Great treasure cultivator true chi hoofing look much better. Cultivation different work shape shift great art, in the golden core, naked body, spiritual chi winding around the body does not disperse, the real shape is also different. After some people's work, shape shift great art, was repaired to golden core. The shape of spiritual chi was a piece of lotus petals. After some people's work, shape shift great art was repaired to golden core. It was a flame of a group like Yin Corpse. Sex black robe old man, spiritual chi's real shape is a gloomy gimmick. In general, the more the shape of spiritual chi is the great treasure, the more the great treasure is majestic, the more it looks, the higher the rank of the cultivator's work, shapeshift great art. The cultivator, wearing a white shapeshift great art, has a shawl that looks like a feminine. It looks like a woman, but the shape that has been shaped from his spiritual chi is so sharp that the person has repaired it. The shapeshift great art estimate is also the worst at earth level high level. Side by side with the cultivator is a middle-aged cultivator wearing a red shapeshift great art gown. The red-colored shapeshift great art robe on the middle-aged cultivator is covered with gold-colored round studs. It looks like a brilliance of 4 flashes. I don't know what it is. This person's face is very rough, looks very sturdy, and the spiritual chi outside his body is also reddish, condensed into the shape of a stalked flame sword, which makes the cultivator look rough and masculine. The face is even a little like a woman's cultivator, a feminine, a rough hoe, but it is impossible to come up with the 2 hobbies, whether the 2 have a feeling of a leg. After more than 200 cultivators passed through the invisible restrictions that surrounded the land of the giant island, more than 50 cultivators flew with the wave of the rough middle-aged cultivator wearing the red shapeshift great art robe. Out, flying along the outer edge of the island. The 2 golden core stage cultivators and the remaining 150 or so cultivators are all on the sea, but there is no incitement. After more than half an hour, the cultivators that had previously flew back were returned, and 5 cultivators were respectfully presented to the 2 golden core stage cultivators, each handing a silk reel. On top of the 5 silk scrolls, it outlines the island's great treasure, with many labels on it. It seems that the more than 50 cultivators that fly out of this body should be shapeshift great art devices that can make the line of sight farther. Otherwise, even if the speed of flying is fast, it is impossible to do so in such a short time. Wrap around the periphery of half of the island. The two-headed golden core stage cultivator carefully looked at this map drawn in silks, looked at each other, saw two people also said, wearing red shapeshift great art robes of the rugged cultivator, waved his hand, motioned to all cultivator heel, and wearing the moon white shapeshift great art clothing feminine cultivator toward the north of the flyaway, in front of the road. The two golden core stage great treasure cultivators stopped after they flew to the north of this huge island and saw a yellow hill with a height of more than 200 feet. The yellow hill on the edge of this giant island is yellowed by the naked body. It looks like an ordinary earthen mountain bag, but it does not grow any trees. Instead, it is in the middle of the mountain naked body. There is also a long ladder that crosses the top of the mountain. It stretches all the way backwards, and where the naked body extends, it is not clear. Because behind the yellow hill, there is a floating white cloud that blocks all the scenery behind. When it was close to the hill more than 300 feet, there was a sudden flash of yellow light on the yellow hill, and suddenly there were countless yellow dust floating. This very small yellow dust, floating up, is suspended in the air, does not fly, cover the sky, so that the surrounding areas become dark and dim. The golden core realm cultivator, wearing a red shapeshift great art robe, reached out. A rocket that was 2 feet long suddenly condensed in front of him and spurred toward the yellow hill ahead. As soon as the yellow dust floated into the area, the yellow sand that had been floating still seemed to be alive. They all rushed toward the rocket. It was only a few breaths. I saw this one. The rocket became more and more great treasure, turning into a giant treasure of a dozen treasures. Subsequently, the yellow sand giant arrow spread out again, and turned into a very small yellow sand, densely suspended in the air. A Deo technique shapeshift great art from a golden core stage great treasure cultivator was easily dispelled, and it seems to have only levied several dozens of suspended yellow sand around the rocket. Looking at these yellow sands is very strange. People cannot help but produce a feeling that if the cultivator walks in, it will be gathered by these yellow sands and swallowed away. But when I saw this scene, wearing the rough middle-aged cultivator of the red shapeshift great art robe, I was overjoyed by the great treasure and turned to the feminine cultivator wearing a moon-white shapeshift great art dress. Virtuous brother Yao, this is undoubtedly the Faisha mountain. It seems that this secret place discovered by Yin Corp sect should be the forbidden little heavenly realm of the legendary ancient Cloud Realm sect. The feminine cultivator's face is very calm. It should be a little heavenly realm. We have only some confidence in the unravel, and we have to enter from this secret place. The rugged middle-aged cultivator wearing a red shapeshift great art robe nodded with excitement and said nothing. I saw the golden core stage cultivator of this aspect of feminine, but first took out more than a dozen Scion's array flag. With one hand and one wave, these dozens of Scion array flags became more than a dozen blue light, and they shot in front of it. Among the yellow dirt hills. Immediately, more than a dozen green beams of light emerged from the underground of the yellow hills, but these beams of light have no effect on the thick suspended yellow sand. The golden core stage cultivator of this face feminine frowned, and took out a set of more than 30 white array flags. After waving a hand, it turned into more than 30 white light and passed through the thick yellow without any hindrance. The dense fog of sand was immersed in the yellow hills. After the 30-sided white array flag was laid down, the suspended yellow sands that had not moved at all were beginning to surge and form a dragon-like shape of a giant great treasure, which seemed to be rushed out at any time. The same as the cultivator. 200 cultivators behind the two golden core stage cultivators, seeing this scene, not only in the heart, but if there are two golden core stage cultivators in front of them, these cultivators must be far away. Say. The golden core stage cultivator in the face of feminine flashed, and suddenly appeared a disc-shaped shapeshift great art great treasure. This shapeshift great art great treasure is very simple. At first glance, it is a very old age, with 4 ancient naked body rune floating in life, death, rest, and sorrow. With the cultivator's true Yuan inscribed, the shapeshift great art shot a white light in the bucket and shot into the suspended yellow sand array. I saw all the yellow sands that were rolling like a monster, and all of them rushed toward the white light beam. Only a moment later, the yellow giant ball with a diameter of more than 50 feet was formed centering on the white light column. Around the entire yellow hill, all of them are clear, and there seems to be no haphazard. Hurry! I'll go through this mountain first. I can't support it for too long. Seeing such a scene, the rear 200 cultivators are all happy, but the face of the feminine cultivator is issued a surging sound sternly shouted. Upon hearing the sternly shouted of the golden core stage cultivator, the cultivators looked all over and swiftly swept forward. After all the cultivators were past, the face of feminine's golden core stage cultivator continued to control the disc-shaped shapeshift great art in hand and then swept away. When his figure sank into the white cloud behind the yellow hill, the continuous shooting of the white beam was suddenly interrupted, and then suspended in the sky, and constantly consumed by the white light powerful energy of the yellow giant ball. It was suddenly scattered, turned into countless small yellow dust. It is also filled with the surrounding areas. At this moment, Xuanhuan old ancestor and Wei Suo have also arrived outside the secret place ruins invisible restrictions. Xuanhuan old ancestor and Wei Suo, etc., are still underwater at a depth of 500 to 600 feet. At the moment, there is no abnormality in front of them, but divine consciousness touched it, but they all suffered a strong regret treasure. These cultivators are all clearly aware of the existence of that invisible barrier. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 305. Chapter 305, Classical Secret Place. Little friend Wei, your black and black claws shapeshift great art is very mysterious. There is nothing surging sound when you cast it. It's not easy to notice. It's better to press a button on this restrictions. Let me wait and feel this restrictions. What kind of restrictions? What about powerful energy? The apex novels hit the novel Li Yizan and Reverend Firecloud and Wei Suo are now familiar, but they don't call Wei Suo Elder Wei, just called Wei Suo Little Friend Wei. Obviously after seeing Wei Suo's strength, these two the golden core stage great treasure cultivator also regards Wei Suo as a cultivator at the same level as himself, and does not dare to take a nap. It was also because of this that Li Yizan proposed 5 points in the secret place ancient ruin. Then please ask Island Lord Li as close as possible. Wei Suo nodded and did not quit, but made such a request. This heaven level mid-level mystic fiend, as long as the dual cultivation yin and yang fusion, can continue to condense this powerful energy amazing yin fiend chi stored in the naked body. Now Wei Suo's yin fiend ghost hand and ji yak hold core has shown that powerful energy has surpassed shapeshift great art great treasure in spirit rank middle grade, close to spirit shift great art great treasure in spirit rank high grade. And this heaven level mid-level shapeshift great art great treasure dual cultivation has more work, and the powerful energy will continue to grow and slowly accumulate, let alone the spirit shift great art great treasure of spirit rank high grade. Even if it is a shapeshift great art great treasure that exceeds Deo rank, it is not impossible. Speaking of this door, shapeshift great art, compared to other types, relying on true Yuan to stimulate it, the powerful energy is amazing, but after the end of the game, there is no, and the power is great treasure, but the power is so constant. Shapeshift great art, which can only grow with the growth of the true Yuan cultivation base, is much more cattle. However, the shapeshift great art is also flawed. If Yin Fiend Chi encounters the powerful energy of the phase, it must be worn out. If it is consumed in one time, the powerful energy will be reduced. Accumulate slowly with dual cultivation. It is precisely because of such defects that the theoretically powerful energy of this door can be accumulated continuously, like a shapeshift great art of shapeshift great art great treasure, which is constantly growing, just in the heaven level mid-level. Otherwise, the shapeshift great art must be ranked at the top grades heaven level high level. Now shapeshift great art at such a depth, and the resistance to water pressure, is definitely to lose some powerful energy, so the closer it is, the better. And Wei Suo decided that it wouldn't be easy to show the shapeshift great art in the future, and then he would slowly accumulate, that is, no need. It's even worse than the shadow shift great art great treasure of Dao rank high grade, but like the current screw your sister flying sword of cloud spirit continent northern part great treasure, it's scary to use when you use it. It is. Li Yizan certainly couldn't think of so many ghost ideas in Wei Suo's mind. When Wei Suo said that he had to stay close, he had no nonsense controls. Wei Suo's very jealous crystal boat approached the invisible restrictions only 4 or 5. The place where Zhang Xiao went, then reached out a little, and the upper shell of the crystal boat turned up again. A black and white yin qi immediately emerged from Wei Suo's, condense a ghost claw, which could not be seen there, but pressed like a wall-like invisible barrier. I knew that I would just find an excuse to let them go. When it passes through the sea and presses on the invisible barrier, Wei Suo feels that the pressure on the ghost is very great, just like driving the mystic fiend ghost claw through the steel plate. The loss of powerful energy is estimated to be at least it will take 10 times and 8 times to make up for it. As soon as I pressed the invisible barrier, Wei Suo only felt that a great treasure of the treasure bounced back, as if it had been pressed on a huge mountain with a huge treasure, it could not be pushed. With a circle of blooming water, the black and black ghost claws could not be pressed, and they immediately received it. On the invisible barrier, a layer of black and black brilliance suddenly appeared. Immediately, in the astounding eyes of Xuanhuan old ancestor and Wei Suo, on the invisible barrier, 560 black and blue brilliances suddenly appeared. The imposing rushing toward the crystal boat came over. The sea of water in front of these brilliance burst into a circle, and it is obvious that the power of these black and white brilliance is very extraordinary. At a closer look, I saw these blue-black brilliances, which are actually the shape of a small moth with a giant treasure. It looks very fierce and weird, like a living creature. Reverend Fire Cloud reached out and a black-red fire flashed in front of him, but it was also divided into dozens of flame birds, just one by one, hitting the blue-black moths that came in. Under the next 2 collisions, the power energy of these dozens of flame birds in Reverend Fire Cloud is obviously stronger than the little moths of these great fish treasures. After burning all these moths, they fly to the sea. After a while, the chi-chi was extinguished, forming a small white steam mass in the deep sea. Seeing the hands of Reverend Fire Cloud reveals, Li Yizan immediately praised the surging sound, fellow Daoist Fire Cloud, your trigram fire true secret art cultivation is getting more and more exquisite. Reverend Fire Cloud has no reveals on the surface, but it is brows. After sinking for a moment, he doesn't say a word. With a wave of hand, a black and red fire column with the thickness of his legs is like a bell. Similarly, the sly slammed into the invisible restrictions in front. I saw a slight tremor on the invisible barrier, and immediately a layer of black-red splendid light emerged. Then, there were 560 black-red brilliances that rushed toward the crystal boat. This time, the 560 black and red brilliances are in the shape of a black and red lingzi, which is very strange. Reverend Fire Cloud did the same, and reached out and put out a black and red fire group, then divided into dozens of flame birds, and hit the black and red lingzi. Under this secret place, dozens of flame birds and black-red lingzi disappeared at the same time, showing that the 2 powerful energy is almost exactly equal. Seeing such a scene, Wei Suo and Ji Ya had no other special feelings besides the suspicion, but the eyes of Reverend Fire Cloud and Xuanhuan old ancestor were filled with strange light. Xuanhuan old ancestor, fellow Daoist Fire Cloud, why, do you know the origins of this restrictions? This kind of strange light immediately fell into the eyes of Li Yizan. Isolation rebound divine consciousness, Such a giant treasure of the shadow shift great art array, and what is the attack on the shape shift great art, immediately rebounded to what nature, even the power of the similar shape shift great art in the eyes of the icy reverend fire cloud, a strange flame ignited. There should be only white color cloud world array for such powerful energy and efficiency. White color cloud world array, Li Yizan's face, suddenly also reveals a pair of jaw-dropping table lust, does it inside, is the forbidden little heavenly realm of Cloud Realm sect. The eyes of Xuanhuan old ancestor are as shiny as Weisuo when they see the great treasure pile of spiritual stones. He didn't say anything at the moment, but also reached out and made a yellow chi, impacting on the invisible barrier, and seeing the original colorless and invisible barrier on the yellow magnificent light flashes, and flying out 5 or 6 yellow brilliance. The yellow brilliance of this time is a square shape-shift great art print with a small fist. This square shape-shift great art print looks like a clod, but it is as heavy as a mountain. In such a deep sea, a dozen hits, and in front of each shape-shift great art, there is an amazing undercurrent. Xuanhuan old ancestor reached out and made a circle of yellow light, and took the 560 shape-shift great art prints. After taking the 560 shape-shift great art prints, Xuanhuan old ancestor's eyes became brighter. This secret place is most likely the Cloud Realm sect's forbidden little heavenly realm. In the surging sound, even with a tremolo, it is very exciting to see the old man. Is the legendary little heavenly realm in this North Extinction Sea? No. Li Yizan sent out a stormy surging sound. White color cloud world array is more than such a powerful energy. If it is a white color cloud world array, we should not feel the existence of this array at all, and it will crash into this array. Confused by its obstacle shifting shape-shift great art and powerful energy, it is impossible to see that this secret place has the existence of the shape-shift great art array through this secret place. But apart from the white color cloud world array of Cloud Realm sect, there are no other shape-shift great art arrays, and this unique powerful energy Reverend Fire Cloud took a very calm look at Li Yizan and analyzed, it should be too old, the shape-shift great art array is broken, and the powerful energy is lost, so we can feel that there are such restrictions. It's very likely that the shape-shift great art array of such great treasure range has such a unique powerful energy. Besides the white color cloud world array, I really can't think of the second one. Xuanhuan old ancestor took a deep breath, said, the shape-shift great art array of such a great treasure range, in addition to communicating with the world of origin chi, must rely on the powerful energy of many unique spiritual stones. The age has passed so long, the changes of the ground, the exhaustion of spiritual stones' powerful energy will affect this shape-shift great art array. Weisuo and Jia heard the cloud, only to hear that Cloud Realm sect and this little heavenly realm and what white color cloud world array is so powerful. Hear this secret place. Weisuo forbearance, I can't help but ask, the younger generation has limited knowledge. I don't know what Cloud Realm sect and little heavenly realm are. What kind of origin? It's no wonder that you haven't heard of it. This is a long time. Cloud Realm sect is the number 1 sect of Cloud Spirit continent 16,000 years ago. At that time, it was ruled by Cloud Spirit continent for a long time, and a lot of rules were set. Cloud Spirit continent, all cities had to follow the cultivator that violated many of its rules and tried to be against it. The cultivator must be sanctioned. Xuanhuan old ancestor looked at Weisuo and explained roughly, little heavenly realm, which is specially built by Cloud Realm sect, exiles some hostile cultivators and places for trials under the disciple. Where is the exile of the cultivator and the trial of the crime under the door? Weisuo was a bit dumbfounded. Is there anything good there? I just saw a little record of this little heavenly realm in a broken classic. I only know that the little heavenly realm is extremely vast, just like a completely independent world. It is completely comparable to the gate of a great section. Xuanhuan old ancestor said, it is said that there were a lot of cultivators at the time, and they also took the initiative to enter this little heavenly realm with the Cloud Realm sect disciple trial. When the prey was chased by the Cloud Realm sect disciple, it was to get a secret place in it. Because it is the prey of Cloud Realm sect's disciple, it must be a life of 9 deaths. According to this record, it should be a good secret place with a great treasure. The cultivator that can live out is likely to get amazing great treasure. But as for what kind of amazing secret place there is, I don't know, fellow deist Fire Cloud, Island Lord Lee, do you know? There will be a new one right now. The Great Treasure family understands you are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Zy. Chapter 306. Chapter 306. Heaven's Dome. At the time, did Cloud Realm sect allow other sects' disciples to enter? Reverend Fire Cloud said slightly, I haven't read all about the little heavenly realm from a classic. I only say that only Cloud Realm sect's inner sect disciples are eligible to enter this little heavenly realm, and Cloud Realm sect the trial of disciple is very strict. After entering little heavenly realm, it is life and self-sufficiency. Looking at his personal luck and happiness, the teacher in the door does not care. The apex novel is a novel. But this little heavenly realm is said to be a place where many spiritual herbs grow, and there are also a lot of places in the little heavenly realm where great treasures are placed. The secret place is full of restrictions. Once you get in, as long as you can live out, you will get everything. The records I have read are similar to those of the fellow deist Fire Cloud Li Yazan. Look at Xuanhuan old ancestor Nod Wei. Just I read the volume of classical is said, Cloud Realm sect will also in small heavenly realm inside artificial more set some sinister, sees the hostile cultivator, is also thrown into the small heavenly realm, even the body of the shapeshift great art are retained, so that the door is willing to enter a small heavenly realm into the disciple to kill, after killing the thing is their own. Now combined with old ancestor you see the records, let some other sect of the voluntary enter the cultivator into the hill, it is not impossible, but with your sea hunting assembly, enter the cultivator should be a certain conditions, should be what level below the cultivator can enter, in the inside survived how long time to kill, you can let it leave the small heavenly realm, and take away the things in the inside. According to the records I have read, the little heavenly realm is a total of 137,000 miles, and the Cloud Realm sect takes a time to arrange. Xuanhuan old ancestor took a deep breath, looking at the invisible restrictions in front, slowly said. I have read the record, saying that Cloud Realm sect is for stimulating entry, but not only the heaven rank great art and shapeshift great art, but also heaven level spirit pellet and mystic ranks shapeshift great art great treasure. Reverend Fire Cloud looked at Xuanhuan old ancestor with a glance. If this little heavenly realm is not completely damaged, maybe old ancestor can really get heaven shaking in it. This Cloud Realm sect is so powerful, it is Cloud Spirit Continent #1 sect, then how can it be degraded? Is it destroyed by the war with other sect? How can this little heavenly realm be preserved? Are there any records? Wei Suo heard it one by one. A shapeshift great art envelope is 137,000 miles, and mystic rank shapeshift great art great treasure is really awkward for the rogue cultivator, which he doesn't actually see. However, it is because there is no concept about this little heavenly realm, and there is a great treasure in the hands of green-robed old man. Without this little heavenly realm, he will definitely become the golden core stage cultivator. Unlike Xuanhuan old ancestor, the life essence is running out, so this time he and Jiya's heart lust is the most calm. Any sect will be awesome, but the fall of this Cloud Realm sect can be said to be self-sufficient. There are many books recorded in this matter, and there will be no falsehood. Xuanhuan old ancestor looked at Wei Suo and explained, Cloud Realm sect is best at shapeshift great art enchantment. The white color cloud world array, such as little heavenly realm, is already amazing, but later Cloud Realm sect's top rank characters it's actually a bold treasure, so I'm trying to lay out a shapeshift great art array, and with shapeshift great art, I'm taking the powerful energy of Heaven's Dome. Taking the powerful energy of Heaven's Dome, the eyes of Wei Suo and Ji Ya suddenly rounded again. Xuanhuan old ancestor nodded. Ancient great treasure can create a powerful energy of heaven's dome. Even the cultivator of divine mystic realm is hard to imagine. It can be 1 in 10,000, or even hundreds of thousands. Millions, even hundreds of thousands of powerful energy, for yourself, for a cultivator. Can you get a great secret place for great treasure? Cloud Realm sects thought of shapeshift great art is good, but it is like a little ants who want to pull a hair from a level 9 monster beast, too much to see themselves. Cloud Realm sect was the powerful energy that was poured out by Heaven's Dome at the time, directly destroying the great treasure half, and the nearby Heaven's Dome cracked a few holes, and then triggered a beast, and the resulting great sect was destroyed. In a slap in the face of his own greed. Speaking of the original Cloud Realm sect, there are 3 divine mystic realms great treasure cultivators, but there is no shadow shift great art blocking Heaven's Dome's backlash powerful energy. I only hate being born in the era when the great treasure can, otherwise I can look at the cultivation base and divine ability of the great treasure, and I will not be born again. Reverend Fire Cloud Coldway, this little heavenly realm of Cloud Realm sect was very secret place at the time. The entrance was transferred by some transfer of shapeshift great art. At that time, no one knew the little heavenly realm. Naked body is located. Wei Suo sneaked over roll one's eyes. Reverend Fire Cloud's tone of voice is obviously a bit contemptuous of Cloud Realm sect, but Cloud Realm sect's cultivators were not as good as they were, but now they are still looking forward to getting people's things. What about this white color Cloud World Array unravel shapeshift great art? After turning the roll one's eyes, Wei Suo looked at Xuanhuan old ancestor and others. For Wei Suo, it doesn't matter which ancient sect's ruins are in any case. The key is to have something good to get. If you are lucky enough to get a shapeshift great art great treasure from mystic rank, it is really developed, and the shapeshift great art great treasure of mystic rank, but even the golden core stage cultivator can kill the great treasure. Only by the shapeshift great art powerful unravel. This white color Cloud World Array, shapeshift great art great treasure hits it and penetrates the past directly, even the shapeshift great art great treasure can't be recovered. After shapeshift great art maintains a certain powerful energy bombardment for a period of time, it can make a gap, although it will immediately suffer the same powerful energy of shapeshift great art counterattack, but we have enough people to resist it is not a problem. Xuanhuan old ancestor said, and this is the little heavenly realm, and there is no need to be afraid of Yin Corp section such a piece of great treasure. Yin Corp sect cannot eat it by itself, and only search for a part of the area as much as possible, get the secret place first, otherwise we will not go in. Go back and put here is little heavenly realm the news spread, and all the sects will come when the time comes. True Reverend Fire Cloud blinked in the eyes. In this case, we don't have to worry about anything, and we don't have to hide in it. It's easier to float directly on the sea. Unravel. This restrictions are more convenient. Li Yazan nodded. At the moment, she didn't say anything nonsense. When she reached out, the upper shell of the crystal boat was closed. Then the crystal boat went all the way up. When it floated on the water, the sun was shining, and the sea was blue. Open. After floating on the surface, Li Yazan took the crystal boat, and Xuanhuan old ancestor sacrificed the white jade lotus platform and suspended it above the sea. It's up to me to unravel this white color Cloud World Array, and fellow deist is blocking the power of this fight. After Reverend Fire Cloud said this, it was a round of crisp hands, only a bucket of black and red flames, like a giant column, a constant bombardment of the invisible restrictions in front. With a burst of continuous roar, the invisible barrier has been filled with a circle of black and red brilliance, and the black and red Lingzi-like flames are constantly emerging, constantly moving towards Xuanhuan old ancestor and Wei Suo and others came back. A circle of white spirit light emerges from the white jade stand of Xuanhuan old ancestor, which easily resists the Lingzi-like black-red flame. It seems that Reverend Fire Cloud said that it was a good point. Xuanhuan Old Ancestors' brightly lit lotus platform is not only a meteorological shapeshift great art great treasure, but also a defense shapeshift great art which is at least Dao rank. Great treasure. When I saw this bright lotus platform, Wei Suo could be a great treasure for the eyes, but when I looked at Xuanhuan Old Ancestor, I used this shapeshift great art great treasure from time to time. Thinking of Xuanhuan Old Ancestor is definitely not going to make this to great treasure. For himself, Wei Suo can only swallow a few mouthfuls of water. At this point Li Yazan reached out and presented a small cyan bell, suspended in the air. The cyan bell was sacrificed, and the surging sound of the shapeshift great art roared as if it had all been sucked in, and it was quiet all around. It seems that Li Yazan said that he was not afraid of being discovered by people of Yin Corp's sect, but he still couldn't be discovered without being discovered, and that the surging sound would not be heard, just the thought of the arrival of Dao Cultivator. After the Reverend Fire Cloud continually bombarded the stick of incense, the invisible restrictions in front of it suddenly issued a surging sound of Ka-cha, and the fire column of the Reverend Fire Cloud suddenly lost its resistance and penetrated. Let's go. Reverend Fire Cloud's face suddenly appeared ecstatic, and then the figure moved, and then rushed in with the fire column. The restrictions that broke the white color cloud world array so quickly, and the great treasure's unexpected expectations, it seems that the white energy cloud world array's powerful energy is indeed no shapeshift great art compared to the time. Xuanhuan Old Ancestor is also afraid of the bright treasure of Tongming Liantai. Without the shapeshift great art, the Tongming lotus will be directly collected, and then several people will immediately rush into the back of the Reverend Fire Cloud. Screw your sister. Although I have heard about these 3 golden core stage great treasure cultivators before, but as soon as I swept in and saw the sight in front of me, Wei Suo couldn't help but breathe the cold air and called for a surging sound. The islands in front of us are rolling and undulating, and we can't see the end at all. It's incomparably vast. What is this little heavenly realm? It is just a land with shapeshift great art. It should be a little heavenly realm. And looking at the land of this great treasure piece of the land to the secret place are all kinds of spiritual fog and light shrouded, the 3 golden core stage great treasure cultivator cannot help but each issued a surging sound. Above the hills in front of Wei Suo et al., a layer of yellow clouds is suspended, and the entire hill is wrapped in a layer of blood light, which looks very fascinating. How do 2 fellow deists say shapeshift great art? Looking at the hill that looked like some hairy hair, Xuanhuan Old Ancestor looked at Reverend Fire Cloud and Li Yazan. Looking at the secret place in sight, all the forests that can enter the little heavenly realm are all splendid light, and the spirits are shrouded. Reverend Fire Cloud nodded without any hesitation. We have no little heavenly anyway realms map, I don't know all the restrictions in it, just search slowly from here. ENN, the 4th is coming, come to the red ticket. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 307. Chapter 307, Ghost Mountain Ghost Sea. I mean this too, the Apex novel is a novel. Li Yazan nodded. Although the hills are covered with blood light and the yellow cloud floats above, it looks very weird, but the restrictions are not the more weird, the more dangerous they are, maybe the seemingly ordinary restrictions, but the more add danger. Xuanhuan Old Ancestor is obviously also the meaning of choosing a place to hit the ground. When I heard the 2 said this, the first thing was that the figure flew toward the hill in front. Waiting for a distance of more than 10 feet from the blood light, all the people stopped and stayed on the surface of the sea. Divine consciousness swept away, without any hindrance, everything seemed to be normal, without any wrong place. I will try it. After saying this, Wei Suo directly casts Ice Dragon True Secrets and turns out a white ice dragon that rushes into the blood light ahead. The reason why he rushed to do it was because he was very clever. Li Yazan proposed to let him use Mystic Fiend Ghost Claw to try something. I saw that this white ice dragon rushed in, but it was getting smaller and smaller. After flying less than 100 feet, it actually disappeared. Reverend Fire Cloud eyes flash, a black-red mask with a baleful aura and a strong black glow. Then Reverend Fire Cloud approached the blood light without saying a word. First, let the divine light screen outside and the blood light touch it. After he indulged a little, he slowly plunged into the blood light. Fellow deist Fire Cloud. Li Yizan's face changed, as one swept into the blood light. The Reverend Fire Cloud, apparently the whole body was sinking and fell to the ground, but the Reverend Fire Cloud immediately stabilized and tried to. I walked out a few steps before returning. The shapeshift great art array with flying restriction, with my cultivation base, is hard to vacate, and it is estimated that it can only be vacated by about 3 feet. This kind of blood light has the effect of shapeshift great art powerful energy, and the equivalent to is the constant loss of true yuan. However, this kind of consumption, with my cultivation base, is still affordable. After returning, Reverend Fire Cloud coldly said, "This guy is not bad." Because the face of Reverend Fire Cloud is a bit of a slick, and the conversation has always been a short-lived, not easy to look at, so Wei Suo has not had a good image for him, but now I see Reverend Fire Cloud active. In the test, Wei Suo's impression of his great treasure was changed. If that's the case, then we will pass. Xuanhuan old ancestor has no nonsense. A yellow divine light screen instantly forms outside the body. The surface of the divine light screen condenses a shape of 1,000,000 years old. It is the heaven level that he passed to Wei Suo's. Low grades defense shapeshift great art, mysterious yellow divine light. There are surely restrictions on flying restrictions. Among the yellow divine light screens, one swept into the range of the blood light. Wei Suo really felt like the naked body first layer, and it couldn't get up. But as Reverend Fire Cloud puts it, the blood light has no other effect than the constant energy of shapeshift great art, which is equivalent to true yuan, which consumes cultivator. Soon, Wei Suo and others crossed the hill covered by the blood light. At the back of the hill is a straight Xian mountain wall, up to 300 feet, smooth like a mirror. When I got here, there was no restriction on the flying restriction. Reverend Fire Cloud took a shot on the slave bag hanging from the waist and released a yang rouge bird with a sunlight glow outside. Seeing the Reverend Fire Cloud releasing yang rouge bird, Wei Suo moved his mind and released his mind-devouring bug. To be honest, Wei Suo feels that the most useful thing at this time is green-robed old man, because this Cloud Realm sect is sect more than 10,000 years ago, not far from the era of green-robed old man. Maybe green-robed old man will recognize some of the restrictions, but the strength of the golden core stage cultivator and some divine ability are not something he can fully understand. Just like the cultivator of Cloud Realm sect was very powerful, but still can't understand the mystery of Heaven's Dome. If you don't know what you don't know, you should be careful. Wei Suo can't guarantee that green-robed old man will not be discovered by these 3 golden core stage cultivators, and now it is in the daytime. Even if ghost raising jar take out, green-robed old man will not come out, so it is still mixed with these 3 golden core stage great treasure cultivators. As soon as Yang Rouge Bird and Mind-Devouring Bug were released, the Reverend Fire Cloud and Wei Suo's look were a bit strange. Two fellow deists, what happened? Is it that the 2 monster beasts born by nature are incompatible and difficult to control? Li Yizan saw the Reverend Fire Cloud and Wei Suo's look a little different and couldn't help but ask. This is not. Reverend Fire Cloud shook his head, stretched out his right hand, and slammed up to pop up a small watermelon fireball treasure. The sky above did not look the same, but the fireball rose up. Suddenly there were countless blade-shaped astral winds coming out, and the fireballs were not smashed in the blink of an eye. Is there a restrictions in the sky? The faces of Xuanhuan old ancestor and Li Yizan are slightly changed. The powerful energy of these emerging astral wind blades seems to be no less than the spirit level great art great treasure of the spirit level high level. At the same time, Wei Suo also reached out and excited a white ice dragon towards the smooth Xian mountain wall. I saw a strange twist on the wall of Xian. The white ice dragon actually penetrated the pass directly, but the cyan mountain wall was twisted, but it was still the same, and even a pit was left. Little friend Wei, you mind-devouring bug, can you even wear the shapeshift great art in the illusory light class? Li Yizan's face suddenly appeared amazed. Even now a fool cultivator, I can see that the mountain wall in front is the illusion formed by the illusory light shapeshift great art array. My mind-devouring bug has advanced, so I have some glimpse ability, but I also know for the first time that my mind-devouring bug can judge the truth of this illusory light anyway. Wei Suo's current strength is not hidden as before, so he does not hide anything, honestly nodded. Oh. It is still an advanced level of mind-devouring bug. Little friend Wei is really a good divine ability. Li Yizan immediately praised a surging sound. It's really toxic to arrange this restrictions. If you don't see this is the illusory light shapeshift great art array, fly up and want to fly over the past, maybe you will be cut into pieces. Wei Suo looked up and couldn't see the unusual sky above, and said something depressed. There is no means for unravel such illusory light shapeshift great art. Reverend Fire Cloud is no nonsense, squinting at the front of the cyan mountain wall. Fellow Daoist has unravel this illusory light shapeshift great art array. What are you waiting for? Xuanhuan old ancestor looked at Wei Suo and said. Wei Suo, who is still waiting to see Xuanhuan old ancestor and Li Yizan, is a bit dumbfounded. Old ancestor, what do you mean by this? I am not unravel this shapeshift great art array. Are you at sea hunting assembly not getting Dao mind lantern from Ziwei zone? Xuanhuan old ancestor looked at Wei Suo and looked speechless. Dao mind lantern? Are you saying this shapeshift great art great treasure? Wei Suo took a glimpse of it and took out the red shawl disciple of Ziwei Zong to find out his cyan oil shaped shapeshift great art great treasure. I don't think that this shapeshift great art great treasure of Ziwei Zong also falls into the hands of little friend Wei. Li Yizan said with astonishment. Is this shapeshift great art great treasure breaking the illusory light shapeshift great art array? Wei Suo was a dumbfounding move of a stock, True Yuan, into the Dao mind lantern in his hand. I saw a very radiant cyan brilliance on Dao mind lantern, which circulated around. A magical scene appeared. Cyan Guanghua's secret place, Cyan's mountain wall is instantly twisted and broken, and directly dissipated invisible. A completely strange scene appeared in front of Wei Suo and others. The front is actually a narrow valley filled with elliptical ribs of countless people. There is a cloud of green clouds in it, and it looks very strange. Yang Rougebird has no sense, there should be no danger. Yang Rougebird leads the way, and Xuanhuan old ancestor and Wei Suo are behind him, as the Reverend Fire Cloud carefully walks through the valley. The green clouds have been floating, and Wei Suo and others feel that this thing must be a bit weird, but after they have indulged themselves, they have resisted curiosity and have not touched these green clouds. Soon, Wei Suo and others passed through this mountain valley without any danger. After passing through this mountain valley, it appeared in front of it. It turned out to be a slope up the slope. The entire hillside is filled with grey and misty mist. Although there is no obstacle to divine consciousness, the sight can only see the scenery within 500 to 600 feet. Reverend Fire Cloud didn't stop doing much and continued to take the road ahead. It seems that Yang Rougebird didn't feel any danger. But when more than 100 feet were swept up the hillside and the top of the hill was visible, the Reverend Fire Cloud suddenly stopped. The grey fog around him suddenly twitched and condensed, forming a glorious treasure. About 1.5 people, Yin Qi was heavy, holding a pair of grey ghosts. As the grey fog around this weak condensed into such a ghost, the grey fog of the distant secret place began to twist and condense, and the condense of the fast condense began to respect the same ghost. Wei Suo and others were originally standing on a very empty hillside. But only for a moment, Wei Suo and others seemed to be standing in the middle of 1,000 horses, surrounded by ghost mountains and ghosts. Reverend Fire Cloud itself sees these ghosts appearing, the face is still a faceless look, and between them, a black and red fireball with a grindstone great treasure emerges in front of him, and then instantly dispersed, turned into more than 50 heads of flame birds, one by one, hit the head of ghosts flying around. A surging sound of boom, the heads of more than 50 ghosts around him were suddenly burned out by the flames. What? But the Reverend Fire Cloud is actually changing instantly. I saw that the heads of more than 50 ghosts were burned, but they did not dissipate, but they soon grew out. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 308. Chapter 308 Ice Column. Pei Papa. These ghosts flocked to the yellow divine light screen inspired by Xuanhuan Old Ancestor. Vertex Novels, Handwriting Novels. By. Don't you have a knife? Thought this is a girl? What made Wei Suo fainting was that these yin chi's heavy ghosts clearly had two sharp-eyed knives in their heads, but they plunged into the divine light screen inspired by Xuanhuan Old Ancestor. There is no need for a knife at all, and it is like a hoe on the divine light screen. Dare to use the two great treasure blades in your hand is completely horrible. My flying sword is not as horrible as your great treasure knife. Wei Suo reached out and presented his great treasure Swarf sister flying sword. The golden two-color magnificent light flashes, a surging sound of, directly gave the front three ghosts like a fly. The picture was shattered. Anyway, this gold gathering sword secrets will absorb a little bit of gold spirit in one use. Wei Suo decides that it will be fine in the future and will take a few shots and take a few shots. No. But Wei Suo couldn't help but call out a surging sound, screw your sister. After seeing that the three ghosts were smashed, they quickly condensed and smashed. Knife, shaking his ass, rushed up. Seeing such a scene, Reverend Fire Cloud puts his hands together and sees a black-red fire lotus with a diameter of more than 3 feet condensing out of the air. After this amazing flame of giant lotus condensed, it slowly rotated again. This rotation seems to have produced an amazing attraction, and all the heads and ghosts around it have been rolled in. I saw all the ghosts within the range of more than 30 square feet were rolled in and burned into a fluffy fly ash. This kind of scene makes Wei Suo's heart can't help but feel a little hairy. Look at the powerful energy of this flaming giant. If the general cultivator is against the DAU technique shapeshift great art of the Reverend Fire Cloud, let alone the shapeshift great art that excites it, maybe even it must be directly sucked go in. Obviously this is at least the shapeshift great art of heaven level low grade. The Reverend Fire Cloud can make the cultivator like Xuanhuan Old Ancestor have taboos. It seems that it is not unreasonable. But Wei Suo couldn't help but greet the great treasure. After the fire lotus disappeared, the fluffy fly ash was scattered again and it turned into a smoky gray mist. And then turned into a head of ghosts. KSHHH. A bright thunder light appeared in front of Li Yazan, condense a 2'2" golden lightning sword. Then the golden sword of this handle flashed and hit the body of a ghost in front. But again, this ghost does not say that even the great treasure brother, you didn't say anything, even if you didn't have a surging sound, it turned into a phoenix, but it immediately became a poncho. The gray mist, condense the original look, a pair of you have the ability to bite me like me. This thing is actually the same as Yin Corp's sex body possessing monster soul, not afraid of the general shapeshift great art. Li Yazan's face also suddenly changed slightly. Body possessing monster soul. Wei Suo moved in the heart and shook his hand and shot a bag of yin phosphorus sand. Li Yazan said that he really felt that the smell of this ghost was similar to the body possessing monster soul that sneaked on him last time. This article is not well known, but the experience of the shapeshift great art is very rich. As soon as we saw Wei Suo shaking hands directly to play yin phosphorus sand, Li Yazan and Reverend Fire Cloud all came to the mind, but the face was still moving and looking at the ghosts burned by yin phosphorus sand. The change. Yin phosphorus sand burned up, but these ghosts still did not suffer any damage, and yin phosphorus sand also adhered to it, directly burning and passing. Xuanhuan old ancestor frowned and wanted to propose that shapeshift great art should not be used to deal with these ghosts. It relied on the defensive shapeshift great art, and it was hard to cross the hillside like the previous bloodlight. Because if these ghosts are condensed by the shapeshift great art, you should just cross the hillside and these ghosts will not keep up. But at this time, I saw the blue-black yin chi in Wei Suo's hands, and the condensed mystic fiend ghost claw grabbed the ghosts and slammed it. The number of ghosts was pinched down, and they were still squeezed out without any surging sound. However, it is not the same as before that after the number of ghosts were pinched, they did not condense again. Little friend Wei, your shadow shift great art, can you just restrain this ghost? Li Yazan and Reverend Firecloud are very surprised to see such a lust scene. At this moment, Wei Suo's eyes are as bright as seeing spiritual stones. He applied this mystic fiend ghost claw, just to try it out. I didn't expect it to be really useful, but it was caught by his mystic fiend ghost claw. The odd chi of the ghost seemed to be him. Mystic fiend ghost claw absorbed it. He obviously felt that a few yin chi were blended in his own mystic fiend yin chi, making his mystic fiend yin chi even more powerful. Such a discovery suddenly caught Wei Suo's desperate madness. These ghosts can actually increase the power of his copy of shapeshift great art. Under the circumstance of the wind and the clouds, even Xuanhuan old ancestor and others are obviously feeling, and the power of mystic fiend ghost claw inspired by Wei Suo is getting stronger and stronger. After looking at each other, Xuanhuan old ancestor and others did not have much to say, waiting for Wei Suo to keep catching the head ghost. Wei Suo's speed of catching is already fast. A long claw is like a whirlwind. The 4 secret places are scattered. These ghosts have no brains. The former brother has just been pinched, and the latter brother is I went up again. Less than a stick of incense time, the ghosts of the shadows on the entire hillside were all captured by Wei Suo. After absorbing this origin chi with at least 1,000 ghosts, looking at his own mystic fiend ghost claw, Wei Suo couldn't help but call a surging sound. It turned out that he and Jiya were very hard and repaired for so many days. His ghost tongue of mystic fiend yin chi was already a 5-fingertip, and it was also a terrifying with the claws of the black bat demon dragon. It was very terrifying. However, now this mystic fiend ghost claw can be said to be no more than a little terrifying. The current mystic fiend ghost claw, the condensed appearance is covered with a piece of copper-like scales. I don't think of little friend Wei's shapeshift great art, which is still growable. I only see the powerful energy of shapeshift great art, which is only a little higher than the powerful energy of spirit level mid-level shapeshift great art great treasure. Now after absorbing these ghosts, origin chi, it has already reached Dao rank. The power of shapeshift great art great treasure. Li Yazan looked at Wei Suo very deeply. Little friend Wei, is the shapeshift great art the heaven level high level shapeshift great art? Is it all the power of Dao rank? Wei Suo's heart suddenly a great treasure. The golden core stage cultivator's judgment is basically wrong. Li Yazan said that his mystic fiend ghost claw has reached the powerful energy of Dao rank, which is basically the product of Dao rank powerful energy. But looking at Li Yazan's very deep look, Wei Suo immediately hit a ha-ha and pretended to be embarrassed. He said, I'm a shapeshift great art. If it's a heaven level high level, shapeshift great art, I have to wake up when I dream. The shapeshift great art is heaven level great art, but it is only heaven level mid-level shapeshift great art, or the dual cultivation shapeshift great art. And although this powerful energy can accumulate, it is also consumed if it is used and fights with others. Oh. So it Li Yazan took a look at Jiya around Wei Suo, a look of great treasure. It's really heaven level high level, shapeshift great art, you shouldn't want to deal with me. Wei Suo just smiles on hee, but my heart is secreting a surging sound. Although Li Yazan and Reverend Firecloud are both motionless, Wei Suo clearly feels that two people are coveting their own shapeshift great art. It seems that don't look at it now, Xiao's brother is shouting, and the cooperation is not bad. Be careful when you are careful. Unfortunately, the shapeshift great art array on this hillside is not topped. Otherwise, if this Xuanhuan ghost is several times multiples, this mystic fiend Ghost Claw is not going to catch up with his flying sword and become Deo rank. High grade, even the power of mystic rank shapeshift great art great treasure? If the Cloud Realm sect cultivator that arranged the shapeshift great art array knew about the idea of Wei Suo at this time, it would definitely get up from the coffin, then click Wei Suo to call two surging sounds screw your sister and then vomit blood and die again. Because this shapeshift great art array called Ghost Immortal Great Treasure Array, the Xuanhuan origin chi is very unique. There was no mystic fiend *** shapeshift G-read art. This great treasure array at that time is no solution, and this kind of ghost can be fully chased out of the cultivator number. Basically golden under the core of the cultivator only can escape. If you want to try unravel a moment, the entanglement of words, basically is dead. But now Wei Suo is still despising his shapeshift great art array. After crossing the hillside, there is a very flat plain in front, with some low-lying ordinary shrubs growing. After flying all the way for more than half an hour, the temperature in the air was a little cold. The dense low shrubs, as they progressed, gradually became scarce and the grass was not born, and then there was thin ice on the ground. A few more miles forward, the ground and the surrounding area are all covered with huge pieces of ice. These huge ices appear dark gray because of their extremely long vintage and dust. Soon after, on this plain covered with dark gray ice, in the eyes of everyone, an icicle with a height of about 5 or 6 feet suddenly appeared. The core of these icicles is a wooden column of cyan, but the outside is covered with ice. On these wooden columns, all of them are wrapped in a bronze-colored essence metal chain. Most of the pillars of the great treasure are empty, but on the 3 pillars, there is obviously a cultivator body. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 309. Chapter 309 Wan Dao Jingguang. Far from seeing these pillars and the bodies of 3 cultivators, Xuanhuan old ancestor, Reverend Firecloud and Li Yazan are all clearly inspired. Vertex novels, handwriting novels. The shapeshift great art clothing on the 3 cultivator bodies is significantly different from the current shapeshift great art clothing style. It is a very old age. Most importantly, the shapeshift great art clothing on the 3 cultivator bodies now looks like the spirit light is flashing. Although it is too far apart, it is impossible to judge the rank with its naked body, but the light is separated by 10,000. For many years, spirit light has not lost sight of it. The shapeshift great art clothing on the 3 cultivators is obviously not a general item. In this way, the shapeshift great art clothes of rank are not taken away, and there are other things on the cultivator. Under the guidance of Yang Rouge Bird, Wei Suo and others went very smoothly before these pillars. The frozen cyan's wooden pillars and the essence metal chain wrapped around the wooden pillars are full of mysterious rune. The eyes of the people all gathered involuntarily to the body of a young cultivator closest to everyone. I saw that the body of this cultivator was not at all, still can be seen. This person is a 40-year-old thin cultivator. Just because of the mysterious ice frozen here for a long time, the whole body is black-gray, looks very horrible. The cyan shapeshift great art on the body is as new as it is, with a hint of green light. When the divine consciousness touches everyone, this cyan shapeshift great art has 2 squid-like flashes. Cyan Guanghua, who is swimming around the shapeshift great art, looks very smart. And everyone was feeling that the divine consciousness that they swept up was bounced off. This shapeshift great art garment not only isolates the divine consciousness, prevents the cultivator from detecting, but also allows the cultivator to detect cultivator divine consciousness in the eyes of Li Yazan. A flash of surprise flashed. Just if divine consciousness is swept up, the squid-like cyan brilliance will emerge, and the cultivator wearing this shapeshift great art suit will be able to detect the hidden cultivator around. This collects great treasures. Who does it? Whose hand is collected in the hands of the great treasure? Reverend Firecloud looked like a public official and looked at Xuanhuan old ancestor. What do you mean by fellow deist Firecloud and Island Lord Li? Xuanhuan old ancestor looked at Reverend Firecloud and Li Yazan indifferently. If it's a general great treasure and a shapeshift great art, it doesn't matter who's on it, but if it's a powerful great treasure of great treasure, put it on our 4 cultivation foundation, the great treasure family will definitely not be at ease with each other, Reverend Firecloud said without hesitation. In order to avoid unnecessary suspicions, I look at all the collected great treasures, or put them on Jia fellow deist. As for collecting great treasures, I see it by little friend. Wei collects it, and his surgery, shapeshift great art, makes it easier to grab things. As for the offensive or defensive shapeshift great art great treasure collected, and the things that are obviously not helpful to us, we don't look at its rank and its purpose, we will accept it directly. Save the great treasure family's mind is not conducive to the cooperation of great treasure home. Wait until we safely go out, return to see Immortal City, and then study the rank, use of these things, and then unified distribution. What do you mean? This thing is placed on the side of my side, and we naturally have no opinion. The great treasure family is also understanding people. It is useless to be greedy in this place. Even if you get a heaven-shaking great treasure, you have to live alive and go out. Reverend Firecloud is straightforward. Xuanhuan old ancestor certainly does not evade. Anyway, he has only a few life essences left. Even now, even if he is a cultivator higher than his cultivation base, he will not be afraid. After talking indifferently, Xuanhuan old ancestor nodded to Wei Suo and said, Elder Wei, start. Wei Suo had already had some troubles. When he saw Xuanhuan old ancestor nod, he reached out and grabbed it. Under the blue-black yin qi, I saw that the body of the cultivator had been frozen very hard, just like a hard-dried steamed bun. It turns into a pool of debris. The cyan shapeshift great art clothing was easily captured by blue-black yin qi and suspended in front of everyone. I saw a small yellow treasure receiving pocket, which fell out of the sharp shapeshift great art. Sure enough, there is treasure receiving pocket. Li Yazan immediately issued a surging sound of excitement. There should be no restrictions. If the 2 fellow deists are at ease, let Elder Wei open the treasure receiving pocket. How? Xuanhuan old ancestor divine consciousness swept through the treasure receiving pocket and asked. All right, Reverend Firecloud and Li Yazan both nodded and nodded their heads. It seems that treasure receiving pocket is something that hasn't changed. Wei Suo's careful divine consciousness was swept twice before the yellow treasure receiving pocket was received. The style of this treasure receiving pocket is no different from the style of the current treasure receiving pocket, and the rune above is the shape of the great treasure, which is similar to some of the current treasure receiving pocket rune. It seems that in this shapeshift great art, which is only used to load things, the younger generation does not have any cultivator and wants to work hard to improve. However, if Wei Suo is a specialized artificer, the same is true. If you have the strength to study the shapeshift great art, you might as well study how you can refine the offensive shapeshift great art great treasure with more power. As Wei Suo's true yuan got in, everything in this treasure receiving pocket was taken out. I saw this treasure receiving pocket, with a fist of great treasure small red essence metal block, a black wooden box, a boxy black platform shapeshift great art great treasure, and a set of reddish find the needle, as well as a set of white shapeshift great art clothes that appear to be spare, 2 sapphire pill bottles. Because it has been said before, Wei Suo directly included the reddish essence metal block and the black scorpion shapeshift great art great treasure, the set of reddish fine needles, the white spare shapeshift great art attire, and the cyan shapeshift great art attire. In the receiving pocket, I lost it to Jia first. Then in front of the Reverend Firecloud and Li Yazan, the black wooden box was opened. There was nothing in the jet black jade case, and Wei Suo shook his head and knocked the two cyan pill bottles apart. Two cyan pill bottles contain 12 blue-white medicine pills, one with a pale gold medicine pill. Wei Suo did not study the use of the two medicine pills at all, but after Reverend Firecloud and Li Yazan took a look at the appearance and number of medicine pill, they handed them all over to Ji Ya and collected them. After putting these things down, Wei Suo and others came to the second hanging cultivator naked body. This cultivator looks like a 40-year-old, bearded face, the same as the previous one, and can't see any scars. It seems to be tied up here, tied here, alive and dead. General. From the arrangement of these cyan wooden columns, it is also like a place for sanctioning hostile cultivators. It's just that the shapeshift great art clothes and things on these cultivators are not searched, which is a bit puzzling. After all, Wei Suo has little knowledge, and it is clear that from the cultivation world of tens of thousands of years ago, there is no sect rich to half the spirit rank. The shapeshift great art is not in the eye, it can be used as garbage. Just littered. What's more, just in front of the cyan shapeshift great art, the rank is obviously not lower than the spirit rank. At this moment, the cultivator has a great red treasure, and the shapeshift great art with the tiger's head rune is also red, and the obvious rank is not low. However, this shapeshift great art clothing did not block the divine consciousness search. Wei Suo divine consciousness swept away and immediately found the waist of the cultivator, obviously also hanging a treasure receiving pocket. Wei Suo didn't hesitate anymore, and reached out and grabbed the treasure receiving pocket with the red shapeshift great art. The body of the cultivator, which has also been frozen to resemble a weathered, has immediately turned into a pile of debris. That is what. But all of a sudden, the eyes of Xuanhuan old ancestor and Reverend Firecloud are flashing. On the cyan wooden pillar behind the cultivator, there is a touch of golden light, which seems to be a pale gold crystal stone embedded in the wooden pillar. Only this crystal stone was covered by the body of the cultivator. Now, after the corpse of the cultivator is grayed out, it is in the eyes of everyone. This is not good. Immediately, Xuanhuan old ancestor and Reverend Firecloud, Li Yazan, and Wei Suo, Ji Ya, all face great treasure. A circle of golden brilliance radiates from this faint golden light. At the same time, among the ice underneath that everyone stands, there is also a golden light that has countless fingers. Xuanhuan old ancestor has been inspiring the mysterious yellow divine light, and there is no obstacle to these golden lights. Everyone just thinks that the secret place is the golden light of the finger thickness, and the golden light that shines on the body has no feeling. A strange force that is completely resistant to shapeshift great art, but then it seems to be rushing to another world. Send shapeshift great art. Wei Suo's face is white. This feeling is exactly the same as when the shapeshift great art is launched from a long distance, but what makes him breathe is that when the golden light comes up, his first reaction is to pull Ji Ya's hand, but under the pull is pulling empty. Ji Ya and Han Weiwei, even at this moment, were first swallowed up and sent out. Just in the moment when the resistance of the shapeshift great art is not to be swallowed up, Wei Suo, who is white and pale, reaches out, and the black yin chi rushes out, and there will be 20 from him. The shapeshift great art clothing on the body of another cultivator from Uziao was also in his hands. Just a moment after the bright yellow shapeshift great art on the cultivator's body, Wei Suo disappeared into this place. If someone can see this sudden change from the distant secret place at this moment, it will be found that Ji Ya and Han Weiwei and Reverend Firecloud have disappeared when Wei Suo disappeared. And just as Wei Suo disappeared, the remaining Li Yazan and Xuanhuan old ancestor, who was trying to rush out, also disappeared into countless golden light. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 310. Master Li Dao, your crystal clam boat is made of magic light crystal clams. I don't know how deep the water can be. Xuanhuan ancestor looked at this water escape magic weapon from Li Yazan and asked such a sentence. Hearing what he meant, there must be a magic weapon for water escape. My magic weapon is about 700 feet deepest in the water, Li Yizan replied. 700 feet, Wei Suo couldn't help being jealous again. He had tried it once or twice before in the stingy sea. His mighty ability to avoid water beads, but even under 300 or 400 feet. Arrived. Of course, I still have to use this magic weapon from Lord Li Island, Xuanhuan ancestor said. The water escape magic weapon on my body is a magic weapon made by a family in my seafaring city. The deepest water is not more than 500 feet. Compared with this magic weapon of Daiyu. Since that is the case, please invite everyone to go to the boat. Li Yizan smiled slightly and reached out a hand. The wave-like aura on the crystal clam boat flashed, and a transparent clam shell turned up. Huoyun Renren will take away from the fire, and after a group of people have entered this peculiar magic weapon of water escape, the clam shell on this magic weapon is seen next to each other, and the sound of poo sounds softly. The small splash of water, this magic weapon sank into the water and disappeared on the sea. Master Li Dao, did you refine this magic weapon? Wei Suo looked around in amazement. After entering the water, not only was it visible from the transparent clam shell, the surrounding scenes were clearly visible, but inside was not sullen at all, and the speed of this flying escape magic weapon in the water seemed to it is also faster than the white jade crane before Wei Suo. Where do I have such a good refining method? This magic weapon is the handwriting of Huozhou, a refining master of Tianhui City. If Elder Wei can hunt a magic crystal mussel, I can introduce this refining master to help you refine. Li Yizan saw Wei Suo's envious thought at a glance and smiled slightly. Master Li Dao, this magic weapon should be able to be opened underwater. Ancestor Xuanhuan also thought that this water escape magic weapon was very good. He looked at Li Yizan and asked. Li Yizan nodded. It can be opened, but when it is opened, it is necessary to stop. Otherwise, the power of the magic circle can't resist the backflow of seawater. Since that is the case, please ask Master Li Island to open it up and do some concealment under it. It couldn't be better. Li Yizan stretched out his hand a little. After the crystal clam boat stopped, the upper shell turned up again, but after turning it up, it was protected by a layer of transparent aura that blocked the sea water. Xuanhuan Patriarch's hands moved slightly, but dozens of fluffy green plants were shot. I saw these dozens of green plants like small pom-poms adhered to the outer shell of the crystal clam boat, and they grew quickly, but they grew into many large green algae. After the crystal clam boat is closed, it looks like a group of green algae floating in the sea water, in the dark sea water, covering all the spiritual light of the crystal clam boat. Xuanhuan's ancestors' move was based on the idea of not letting the Yin corpse discover, so as to minimize the trouble. But what the ancestors Xuanhuan and Wei Suo did not know is that at this moment, a large area of escape is approaching the sea area where the remains of the ancient monk are located from the side opposite to their position. At this moment, the sky has been lighted up, and there are also 400 or 500 feet from that one. It can be regarded as one of the sea signs. The Kongsang Island looks forward. The sea is empty, and nothing can be seen at all. Only if you look closely, you will see the sky above the empty sea. Thousands of miles away from the empty island, there is always a layer of gray clouds filled. The sea below the gray cloud looks empty. But if there are monks who are really close to the sea surface, if the consciousness sweeps over, they will be bounced out inexplicably immediately, feeling that there is an invisible inexplicable prohibition around the sea area here. Inside this invisible inexplicable ban, it is an extremely amazing sight. From the outside, it looks like an empty sea, but they are all large and small, continuous islands. These islands are all connected together, and there are some differences from the previous news that Huoyanzhen and Li Yizan discovered. Although Huoyanren and Li Yizan must have visited this place before, they obviously did not enter this inexplicable ban with the blinding effect, so they only thought it was inside, at most only tens of thousands of square meters, but the actual in this prohibition, the continuous islands have a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles, which is obviously like a small piece of land. I saw high and low, among the large and small continuous islands, many places have unique brilliance and various spiritual fogs, and on the outer periphery of this island, it is impossible to see the scene inside. At the moment, on the west side of the island, in a place about 100 miles away, there are no fewer than 100 monks gathered. These monks wear various vests. Not only do most of them give people a yin sensational feeling, especially the faces of many monks are much paler than the average monks, which makes people feel at a glance very uncomfortable. The hillside where these monks are located is actually a level, like terraces. The monks stood on these steps in sequence. But just a few tens of feet behind these monks, they were all shrouded in the black spirit mist, and white light flashed from time to time, sometimes mixed with the sound like a wolf howling. Close to the black spirit mist on the steps, there seemed to be a thick layer of ice. On the uppermost steps of these monks, a black SE coffin was traversed horizontally, which made people feel hairy at first sight. On this black coffin with a black pattern, there is a god, Mulan, who looks like an old man in black robe about 50 years old. The old man in black robe has a thin face, his eyes are green, and the black robe on his body is also like the black coffin under him, covered with the rune-like runes. If an ordinary monk glances at a glance to this scene, no matter what the monk's cultivation is, there must be an extremely uncomfortable feeling in my heart. But what is even more amazing is that the aura from the old man in black robe appeared black, and formed the shape of a fist-sized black skull, and it was terrifying. Reiki turned into shape. Obviously, this old man in black robe is also a golden monk who is like a fake replacement. Suddenly, the transparent light on the sea flashed, a tall and thin grey-robed monk, stepping on a magical purple demon infant, passed through the invisible prohibition outside the ancient ruins without hindrance, showing figure. From this prohibition, it is impossible to see the scene on the outer sea, and from the appearance of the tall and thin grey-robed monk's unimpeded entry, it is obvious that the prohibition of the prescription position has been used. This method was cracked, and a gap was opened, which only had the effect of blinding the illusion, but it did not have the defense power to prevent entry. The other party is ready to crack the outer ban. I saw that the monk did not stay at all. He flew to the black coffin before landing on the lower steps, facing the black coffin. The old man in black robe with green eyes a salute, is the man in the palace of fire. People in the fire palace. Upon hearing this, the hundreds of monks gathered below suddenly moved, and a terrified appeared on many faces. If it weren't for a sect like Xuanhuan Palace, how dare you come here so arrogantly? You can't even think of this. Is it a pile of rotten meat in your mind? Although the Fire Palace is known as the first gate in the western part of the Yunling continent, its strength is even worse than that of our Yin Corps. Because of the tactics of the Fire Palace, it has some skills against our Yin Corps. Restraint, if you respond in this way, then you might as well withdraw from the Yin Corps now, or let me calculate your results directly and save your eyes. The old man in the black robe on the black coffin flashed the green light in his eyes, and suddenly made such a sound coldly. Although the voice was not loud, the hundreds of monks suddenly changed their faces, and they were silent as they walked along the terraced steps of this hillside. The old man in black robe then asked coldly the grey robes who came with purple demon babies, "How many people are coming from the Palace of Fire?" "About 200 people, there should be at least 2 Jindan monks." The foot is covered in purple and black se lingering magical energy, looks like a baby, eyes blinking from time to time, the strange purple demon babies. The grey-robed monk was very quiet and replied, "One of the golden monks was extremely white and the light was very strong. What he repaired was not the fire spell, it should be the real umbrella of the treasure umbrella." Looking at the monk of grey robe that did not change, the old man in black robe who was so cold in his heart, there was a flash of satisfaction in his eyes, but he just nodded slightly, and did not chatty. After about half an hour of incense, the rear was not in the black mist of the haunting sound of a crying wolf, the white light flashed, a young monk wearing a white vest and holding a white bone, but from it he wore it out and gasped violently, looking very difficult. "What's the situation inside?" The green light flashed in the eyes of the old man in black robe and asked directly. "Probably as long as there is Sanayuk Siang, Master Shi and Uncle Ye, they should be able to break that prohibition." This young monk wearing a white vestment made a tribute, did not dare to answer indifferently. The old man in black robe nodded, still not making any statement. "Master, are we going to intercept the people in the Palace of Fire, or do we go directly into it?" Seeing the old man in black robe without any order, he walked on the grey robe of the purple demon baby, but he could not bear it. Live asked. "If you were changed, how would you decide?" The old man in black robe didn't answer, but asked the sentence rhetorically. "If it is decided by the disciples, they will be allowed to enter. This is not the private land of our yin corpses. Even if we want to intercept, there is no valid reason. If we block the war, both sides will suffer great losses." Grey robe the tall and thin monk said, "We have already stayed here for so long, but we know a little bit about it. Rather than injuring 1,000 enemies, and inflicting 800 self-injuries, let them come in. They promoted in such a hurry, and they will be damaged at that time. The monks who are banned in this area may be more than the monks killed by us." The old man in black robe looked at the grey robe monk with a blank expression, and there was a trace of satisfied in his eyes, but there was no expression on his mouth, just a cold command. "We are ready to go in." Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 311. Chapter 311 and Bird Negotiations. With Wei Suo's True Yuan inscribed, this bright yellow shape-shift great art has a little bit of star-like silver brilliance, but it has been around my body. For a time, his body around the naked body seems to have hundreds more. Like a silvery little star. Vertex novels, handwriting novels. This little silver-like brilliance looks like a powerful energy. Under the heart of the urging, this hundreds of silver brilliance suspended in his body around, but still floating quietly, there is no movement. Because it is imperative to find out if there is something that can make him know more about this little heavenly realm, so Wei Suo doesn't add much experimentation. It also directly collects the shapeshift great art, and then puts these two shapeshift great art clothes. All the things in the treasure receiving pocket were taken out. There aren't many things in these two treasure receiving pockets. There are only 2 cyan pill bottles, a black small flag, and a black 5-pronged gold pattern on the black flag. 2 cyan essence metal rings with a singular rune on the ring. In addition, there is a yellow jade talisman. Upon seeing this yellow jade talisman, Wei Suo's instant eyes flash. The yellow jade talisman was immediately caught in the hand and divine consciousness swept into it. Euro/P. A moment later, green-robed old man was depressed and called a surging sound. Wei Suo also slowly exhaled a breath, and the face reveals a disappointing look. This piece of yellow jade talisman is obviously the ancient talisman used by ancient cultivator for notes. Wei Suo is extremely eager to record some of the stories about Little Heavenly Realm in this ancient talisman. If there is a map of Little Heavenly Realm, then Wei Suo is really thankful. But what makes him and green-robed old man very depressed is that the name recorded in the ancient talisman is the name of some spicy herb that may be made into various spiritual roots. Like the fire spirit roots earth fire immortal lotus and the ice spiritual roots mythical underworld immortal lotus, it's recorded there. These are for the general cultivator, and there are some secret places for growing insights, but these things are also known by green-robed old man. So this piece of jade talisman for Wei Suo can be said to have almost no secret place. After reaching out and directly removing the yellow jade talisman, Wei Suo immediately opened 2 cyan pill bottles. Inside the 2 cyan pill bottles are more than 10 blue-white medicine pills. His is green bud, something that is similar to restoring true pill. Re-enrobed old man surprised surging sound. It seems that these cultivators are not too far away from my time. Wei Suo didn't say much anything. He took the two pill bottles together and immediately ignited the black small flag and the two cyan essence metal rings. I saw the black flag on the black flag, and the brilliance of the brilliance condensed a black dragon, hovering around my body. The two cyan essence metal rings suddenly changed into great treasures and became two cyan giant rings with a diameter of about 1 foot. Then they flashed and disappeared from Weisuo's, and they were in Weisuo. The first few dozen feet appeared. Weisuo immediately took the black small flag into his treasure receiving pocket, which was used in the spiritual stones bag, and then received the two cyan essence metal rings in their treasure receiving pocket with the usual shapeshift great art great treasure. At first, these two shapeshift great art great treasures have been tried. The black dragon small flag is a spirit level great defensive shapeshift great art great treasure, and the pair of cyan essence metal rings is like the previous 5 elements ring. It can be used to tie the opposition's shapeshift great art great treasure, but the powerful energy also has the spirit level middle grade, which is a lot less than the 5 elements ring of the previous spirit scale. After putting down this shapeshift great art great treasure, Weisuo's eyes immediately focused on the body of Yang Rougebird, who was completely awe-inspiring because he was able to release the divine consciousness pressure. When the lesser thousand transformations wonderful escape formation was inspired, it was impossible for Reverend Firecloud and others to know that the Yang Rougebird would just be in a place with his teleport. Now that Jiyat and Han Weiwei are separated from him, for Weisuo, it is natural to prepare the Yang Rougebird monster core first. Killing this Yang Rougebird at this moment can be considered an excellent time, and it will not be known by Reverend Firecloud. N. But Weisuo, the eyes of the murderous intention, hovering over his head, the very awe of his Yang Rougebird, but it seems to know his heart. Read the general, spiritual eyes immediately reveals very human pleading look, but also do not escape run, 2 wings incredibly singular pendulum to the front, looks like in a person Ziuyi beg for mercy general. The bird's spirituality made Weisuo slightly smashed. You are so spiritual, can you understand me? If you understand it, you will take a look at my head. After Weisuo stunned for a moment, he suddenly said this to the long-tailed bird wrapped in a sun-like glow. He said that it is not a cow playing the piano, because the Yang Rougebird itself is listed as one of the 5 great treasure spirits in the ancient cultivation world. The wisdom is too far exceeds the general high-level monster beast, and many contact with the cultivator for a long time. The high-spirited monster beast is able to understand people and understand what it means. Sure enough, Weisuo's voice just fell, and the Yang Rougebird immediately flew in a lap on Weisuo's head. Since you can understand me, then I will say it. If you don't understand, then fly on my head and I will set up shadow shift great art to explain it to you. Weisuo looked at this very spiritual Yang Rougebird and said quickly, I used to ask your monster core to save the life of my companion, so I promised you the request of Master Reverend Firecloud. This secret place. I don't want your life either. /P. Hearing Weisuo, the Yang Rougebird flying in front of Weisuo turned out to nod and seemed to tell Weisuo that it was completely understandable. Now my companion and I have lost. If I want your monster core now, if they fall into this little heavenly realm, this monster core doesn't use secret place for me. After monster core is away from the naked body, it is also a lot of damage for you. Equivalent to abolish your great treasure half of the cultivation base. Weisuo looked at repeatedly nodded Yang Rougebird, then said, your ability to sense the good or ill, here very useful. If you try to help me together to find my 2 companions, if I can successfully find the 2 companions, then you will monster core intercourse to me. I promise I will do my best to find the spiritual herb to you, so that you can restore origin chi as soon as possible, to repair the monster core. If you try to help me, I still can't find the 2 companions. I can let you leave safely without your monster core. And I will also find 2 spicy herbs that are useful to you, and give it to you as a compensation today. /P. If it is in normal times, it is easy to talk to a bird about intercourse, but it is a bit funny, but at this moment, Wei Suo is to increase the possibility of finding Jia and Han Wei, but it is very serious and does not feel funny at all. The bird is also very knowledgeable about the time, knowing that he has nothing to reject, and it seems to feel that Wei Suo is really so kind to talk about conditions, so Wei Suo almost finished. The Yang Rouge bird is afraid of Wei Suo repenting in general, nodded in the air. Screw your sister, this bird is too spiritual too much. It is estimated that if you find a fruit tongue to eat it, with its spirituality, you can definitely talk to you directly. Seeing that this Yang Rouge bird nodded his head and jumped, green-robed old man also said something with a smile. Upon hearing green-robed old man say the fruit, Wei Suo suddenly remembered the orange-like beads that were obtained from Xuanhuan men. Because Xuanhuan old ancestor followed all the way, the beads have not been seen by green-robed old man until now. Old man, do you know what this is? Under eyes flash, Wei Suo immediately took out the long orange olive beads of the Longan great treasure. His is great antiquity sacred fruit. Rian-robed old man immediately took a sigh of relief. Wei Suo, where did you get this thing? What did you get in this little heavenly realm? /p. Great antiquity sacred fruit, what the hell is it? You can't finish it soon. This thing is what I got from Xuanhuan men. Ei Suo replied quickly, darting forward toward the front of the blue-red brilliance. It important to find Jia at the moment, but he doesn't want to spend more time in this place. The products are very good. This is really a good thing. Wei Suo's surging sound is a bit uncomfortable, but green-robed old man didn't talk to Wei Suo at this time, but excitedly called it, this great antiquity sacred fruit. The legend is that the world is cracked, ancient great treasure can create the spirit that existed before heaven's dome. This kind of fruit is not only the same as amethyst fox rose, it can improve the success rate of core formation, and it can also strengthen the Greta treasure guild and meridian, can store more true UN, and it is like the upgrade of shapeshift great arts rank. This kind of fruit is even more rare than amethyst fox rose, and it has great treasure for the golden core stage cultivator, so even such a thing, even sect can't give the genius disciple in the door, then the purple star reverend if anything, it must be used by myself. It seems that this thing was Xuanhuan men's own, and I didn't expect it to fall into your hands. Haha. This kind of great antiquity sacred fruit I have only seen patterns and introductions in the classics. I don't know the efficacy and potency of the naked body. Isn't your heaven-mending pellet already filled? If you refining this fruit, your purple mystic true technique will definitely be more than heaven level low grade. At least it will be better than heaven level low grade. If you see your divine C, you can't see it. From your divine C Guanghua, it is hard to think that you only have heaven level low grade. Because this thing is great for the treasure, not divine C/P. It is such a good thing, then listen to what you mean. This kind of fruit is extremely great treasure, strong guilt, flesh, so it is precious to improve the shapeshift great art rank, then it should also have the effect of growing life essence. If you change something more general, green-robed old man says so much now, Wei Suo thinks that he has more nonsense, but at this time he heard the words of green-robed old man, has already plucked into the blue Wei Suo, the mouth of the red brilliance, is also somewhat cold. Of course, the effect is at least a lot more than the spiritual herb of the ordinary nourishing body like Yanqiao fruit. It is no problem to say that life essence is decades. Some of the heaven level top ranks shapeshift great art, not because of the body and the guild of the body, so the total amount of true UN is even more amazing, so it is listed as the top by the cultivator. What is the grade of shapeshift great art? Rian-robed old man answered this affirmatively, but he immediately began to observe the passage outside the hole at the front. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 312. Chapter 312 Fighting Great Art Surging Sound. Holy fruit, I did not expect that this orange fruit in Xuanhuan actually had such a great treasure. Vertex novels, handwriting novels. Xuanhuan, the genius of this famous genius, is also reminding Wei Suo to be careful. Don't look like the age of 20, the heaven-level great shape thought realm fourth layer is more talented than the genius. If you hang in the hands of others, the good things on your body are also in the bag of others. Because the drug body of the great antiquity sacred fruit is still unknown, under this lust shape, Wei Suo certainly does not dare to swallow refining, and puts up this even a little more than amethyst fox rose. After the fruit, Wei Suo also immediately observed the passage outside the hole in front of the period. The passage of the blue-red brilliance outside the hole is also the same stone as a cave. But on both sides of the passage, they are all cliffs, filled with the deep valley of Great Qi. It seems that this passage is like a giant bridge that does not end at all, and does not know which secret place. This kind of lust shape makes Wei Suo can't help but think of the land under the blue wind mound. The brilliance of blue and red is above the top of Great Qi, and there is no way to see where it came from. When Wei Suo tried the red tiger shape-shift great art, he tried it. This blue and red brilliance seemed to have nothing to do with the power of shape-shift great art. Actually not. After watching the green-robed old man for a while, I simply said this to Wei Suo. Is there any danger in sensing? Wei Suo asked Yang Rougebird, who was flying in front of him. Yang Rougebird shook his head in a hurry, and he said that he did not feel any dangerous atmosphere. If I don't ask, then if you feel the danger, just call a surging sound. You shouldn't play any tricks. You should also be very clear. Without me, you can only live here. What made green-robed old man called surging sound hum was that Wei Suo threatened the bird at the moment. Upon hearing the threat of Wei Suo's, Yang Rougebird immediately nodded again. A small understanding, you are the old great treasure, I will definitely not do any tricks, and certainly follow the mix of you and meat. After seeing Yang Rougebird nod, Wei Suo reached out and inspired Mystic Fiend Ghost Claw, who had already reached the power of shapeshift great art great treasure. He carefully took a look at the blue-red brilliance in front. Without any reaction, the blue-red brilliance did not hinder his Mystic Fiend Ghost Claw. Mystic Fiend Ghost Claw grabbed a few moments in Great Qi on both sides of the channel. Great Qi in the deep valley on both sides caught it and seemed to be very ordinary. However, Wei Suo also clearly felt that Mystic Fiend Ghost Claw was so heavy that it seemed to be a shapeshift great art array with flying restrictions on both sides. If you want to fly and look at it, it is estimated to fall directly to the bottom, live. It fell to death. Slightly sinking, Wei Suo reached out and the flying sword, suspended in front of him, slipped into the blue-red brilliance. Wei Suo slowly walked up after seeing that the flying sword entered the blue-red brilliance and there was no reaction. Yang Rougebird is also very clear about his own strength, although it is also a great treasure in the monster beast, but in this little heavenly realm with super sect with divine mystic realm great treasure cultivator, it is not enough. Look, so the obediently tortoise is in the blue-white divine light screen inspired by Wei Suo, followed by Wei Suo. One person, one bird, and a very careful advance of the distance of several tens of feet in silence, a faint yellow light came from the front. Going to the front, I found that the front is a cave with a radius of about 100 feet. This cave library is just like the cave. The stone on the wall is also wrong with the general intercourse of the canine teeth. It is rugged and does not see any rune, but the surface is shining with a thin yellow light. In addition to the passage that Wei Suo entered, this cave has no exit. Only in the center of the cave, there is a quiet green pool with a radius of more than 10 feet. The water in the pool didn't look unusual, but on the edge of the pool, Wei Suo couldn't help but watch the eyes flash. This mouth has a bottom of more than 30 feet deep, and there is a great treasure door covered with mottled patina. This seemingly quaint patina great treasure door, still faintly visible a blood red, giant great treasure spider-like rune. This is the door to the spider. Just as Wei Suo's face looked ugly and looked at this seemingly weird great treasure door, green-robed old man's smug surging sound sounded in his ear. This blood-red spider in our cultivation world, it was regarded as a genius, and the cultivator that can see the spider is said to generally encounter a good blessing, so this rune seal is generally used by sect in some possessions. On the great treasure door of the great treasure hall, there is a feeling of opening the door. His spider's door, how about unravel? Wei Suo's heart is moving. The era of Cloud Realm sect and green-robed old man is only a few thousand years old. It seems that many things are still connected. This green-robed old man is finally starting to play great treasure with secret place. It is. To use the shapeshift great art of blood festival, you should be able to open this great treasure door with your own blood offering. Green-robed old man replied immediately. Wei Suo nodded and took the water-avoiding beads from the treasure-receiving pocket and ignited it. Under the strong energy of the water-avoiding beads, Wei Suo and Yang Rougebird entered the bottom of the pool smoothly, before the green-robed old man said the door of the spider. I saw that Wei Suo didn't have any stops, and he made a stroke in his hand and sprinkled a string of blood. Then under the package of Wei Suo's true yuan, the blood broke into the spider-like rune on the great treasure door. Just after a few breathful hours, an amazing scene appeared. This patina-filled great treasure door suddenly opened up and spewed out the white treasure of the great treasure piece of great treasure. The lake in this deep pool actually turned out and made a drop of water around Wei Suo. Immediately after Wei Suo saw the patina-filled great treasure door, there was a white ramp. Seeing this passage filled with white glow, Wei Suo repeated the experiment with shapeshift great art and the flying sword before he carefully plucked it in. After about 300 feet, there was a light blue light curtain in front of it, blocking the way out. This light blue light curtain is very similar to the ordinary spirit light curtain, and Yang Rougebird still does not feel any danger, but Wei Suo does not dare to have a great treasure, and repeats the previous test method. After seeing that his own shapeshift great art and shapeshift great art great treasure can get in and out of this blue light curtain, Wei Suo moves through the layer of light blue light. As soon as I passed through the light blue light curtain, Wei Suo immediately stopped. There was a great treasure hall in front of me. This great treasure hall is a truly true treasure hall. The ground is covered with white jade. There are also many flower stands, screens and the like, which are also made of white jade, and many white jade shelves. But at this moment, the furnishings are almost completely damaged, and it is the whole in disorder, giving people a feeling of being manipulated in it, or completely looted. Divine consciousness swept away and his figure went out from the door of this great treasure hall. He immediately discovered that the place where he was at the moment was actually a 3-story pavilion. This pavilion was slightly more precious than his residence in Sea Immortal City. There were more than 10 rooms, which looked like warehouses. The same, but at the moment it has been made in disorder, no useful things left behind. And this pavilion is wrapped in a layer of blue light curtain through the naked body, and can't see the outside scene. After a quick exploration of the 3-story pavilion, Wei Suo immediately went to the door of the bottom of the great treasure. In addition to a passage connecting the pool, the pavilion also has an entrance to the great treasure door, and the great treasure door is also the arrangement of the door of the spider, just because there is no need to use the blood sacrifice. Shapeshift great art unravel. I saw Wei Suo reaching out and pushing it down. The surging sound of the main entrance of the pavilion was pushed away. The door is also a light blue light curtain. While passing through this water-like light curtain, Wei Suo and green-robed old man, while seeing the outside scene, took a breath of air. Outside the 3-story pavilion, it turned out to be a valley of giant great treasure. Around the valley and above, there are yellow-green poisonous clouds, and in this valley, there are all kinds of scars and deep pits in the secret place, and the white bone. It seems that in this valley, it seems to have experienced many cultivators between the violent fights of shapeshift great art. Looking back, the blue light curtain has no hindrance to the line of sight. I saw the three-story attic in the blue light envelope. The naked body is made of white jade, carved dragon, and phoenix, looks refined. Abnormal. Just above the great treasure door that Wei Suo walked out, there was a golden great treasure plaque with 3 great treasure words, Gorge Great Treasure. Wei Suo didn't think much about whether this secret place was actually a place to store some shapeshift great art great treasure. After sweeping out the divine consciousness, he swept into the valley ahead and slowly searched. The cheekbones in this valley are obviously left over 10,000 years ago. They have been thoroughly weathered. Wei Suo is just between the action, there is a breeze blowing, and the white bone, which looks good, suddenly disappears. It turned into a fly ash, giving a strange feeling of the blue sea turned into mulberry fields. And all the cultivator widows in this mountain valley seem to have been searched at the time. In the whole valley, not to mention a shapeshift great art great treasure, even a shapeshift great art suit was not left. When plunging into the middle of the valley, a strange sharp howl and roaring intercourse mixed with the surging sound, faintly passed from the west side. Wei Suo's brow suddenly jumped. Because that is obviously the surging sound of the cultivator fighting great art. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 313. Chapter 313 Rune God Will. Following the surging sound of the shapeshift great art, carefully wearing the valley full of shapeshift great art traces and white bone, it was a forest. Vertex novels, handwriting novels. This forest stands tall, not a tree of trees, but a small cyan stone tower with a great treasure great treasure. The shape of this cyan stone tower looks very similar to that of some sex stupas and stupas. It is very slender and is covered with some auspicious clouds and reliefs of great treasure lotus patterns. The smallest cyan stone tower is about 1 person tall, and the great treasure is as thick as a leg, but the great treasure's cyan stone tower is more than 10 feet high. The diameter of 1 or 2 people is like a towering old tree. Same. Wei Suo divine consciousness swept away and felt that the cyan stone tower didn't seem to be the same, it seemed to be solid. After a slight sigh, Wei Suo reached out and saw his door flying sword cut a small stone tower in half. Don't look at his flapping sword. It doesn't look like a flying sword, but because it melts a great treasure, it is actually much sharper than the average flying sword. At this moment, it is cut in this small stone. On the tower, it's like cutting tofu. The small stone tower cut in half is really solid, like ordinary bluestone, without any abnormalities. At this time, the deep secret place of this piece of pagoda forest, where the direction of the shapeshift great art surging sound came, suddenly it was a surging sound that was unusually dull. Wei Suo immediately looked up and glanced at Yang Rougebird in front of him, and the very spiritual Yang Rougebird seemed to understand what he meant at once. Not waiting for Wei Suo to do anything, it took the initiative to sneak in front. Flying over to the place where the surging sound sounded. What makes Wei Suo even more satisfied is that the sun-like halo outside it disappeared, and the brilliance of the body converges to the extreme. Wei Suo put divine consciousness without surging sound on the most great treasure, immediately behind Yang Rougebird. In the heart of the pagoda forest, this extremely majestic high-grade treasure altar is built. The altar is square, with a radius of more than 200 feet and a height of about 20 feet. There is a secret place in front of it. This altar looks like it is made of ordinary bluestone, but the outside of the altar is wrapped in a cyan mask. What is even more striking is that there is a blood-red flame in the center of the top of the altar. The fluorescent light flashes and even makes people look at the shapeshift great art. It is impossible to see what is shining like this bright and dazzling brilliance. At the moment, on the open space directly in front of the altar, 2 cultivators wearing black shapeshift great art robes stood side by side. The 2 young cultivators are all 27 years old. The left cultivator has a round face, while the first cultivator on the right is very thin. The sharp-nosed monkey is very different. But the 2 people's shapeshift great art clothes are almost exactly the same, All are yin qi, the rune with many black gimmicks. If it is the Cloud Spirit Continent native cultivator, see the shapeshift great art on the two cultivators. The clothes will be recognized immediately. This is the unique shapeshift great art clothing of the Yin Corpse sect inner sect disciples, black skeleton spirit robe. This kind of robes is not the one that Yin Corpse sect has done. The inner sect disciples is a hand, but it is also the defensive shapeshift great art clothing of the true spirit class. Beside the two cultivators, a great treasure type cyan stone tower of more than 10 feet was fell, and the break was 5 or 6. Below the broken cyan stone tower, there are scattered pieces of bronze essence metal. These bronze essence metals are 1 foot thick, 1 brilliance and 1 side full of rune. In addition to these fragmented essence metals, there is also a half-shaped body, the naked body, and the appearance of this essence metal. There are also a few pieces of bronze giant treasure axe, a few pieces of crystal clear crystal stone, and some gear-like strange things. The roots of the cyan stone tower looked very uneven, and it should be this humanoid thing, hitting the cyan stone tower and knocking down the stone tower. Don't look at it, this should be the legendary Little Real's rune essence metal. Although there is the strength of the heavenly circuit realm 5th layer, the materials for refining this essence metal are very common. As early as in the previous cultivation world, I have already studied it, and I have to investigate whether there is any great treasure on the altar. Looking at the round face cultivator beside him, looking at the messy things scattered on the ground, another Yin Corpse sect cultivator, which is a pointed monkey, said this faintly. The original Zhao brother has so much understanding of this rune essence metal. What the brothers said is that the red light above the altar looks very extraordinary. If it is a great treasure, then we will send it this time. After the round face cultivator smashed, I nodded immediately, and my eyes were revealing some excitement. If it is really a great treasure, then we can stay in this secret place, and when the time goes back, the intercourse is bad. Yin Corpse sect disciple, the sharp-nosed monkey, nodded. This little heavenly realm is too dangerous. I don't want to die in it without knowing it. After the two said these 2 sentences, they carefully walked toward the very majestic altar in front. I saw that these 2 people were also very careful. The way of exploring the road was exactly the same as that of Wei Suo. The round face cultivator first inspired a Dao technique shapeshift great art, which gave off a green smoldering fire and shot into the cyan mask. Seeing the smoldering fire of the green oil, there was no obstruction. In addition, the cultivator, which he called Zhao's brother, gave a white bone pistol and stabbed a cyan mask. The cyan mask is just a layer of water like scorpion, just like the shapeshift great art shot, like a water curtain, poked in by the white bone rifle without any hindrance. Seeing such a scene, the 2 cultivation bases are all in the eyes of the Yin Corpse sect disciple in the heavenly circuit realm 5th layer cultivator. Then 2 people carefully penetrated into the cyan light curtain. The cyan light curtain does not seem to hinder the 2 people. However, the 2 cultivators just walked up the steps 10 steps up the stairs, and the difference became steep. How tall the 2 were, and the figure of red brilliance ran across the top of the altar. How tall the 2 are, and the figure of red brilliance flows through it, and it is also a full-fledged rune, like rune essence metal, which is full of tattoos. This essence metal with essence metal enamel surface is all reddish, but with a long rifle with a length of 3 feet in the hand, the outer armor is covered with long and short spikes, which looks very terrifying. Heavenly fire. The 2 Yin Corpse sect cultivators suddenly changed their faces, and the seemingly few young masters saw the round-face Yin Corpse sect disciple. It was also the style of Han Weiwei. When it was applied to shapeshift great art, it was also a lame. I have to shout out the name of my own casting shapeshift great art. I saw the brutal green pillars of the 2 arms, like 2 giant pythons, rushing to the rune essence metal which is covered with rune and spikes and extremely terrifying. At the same time, the Yin Corpse sect disciple of the pointed-toothed monkey is also a circle of hands. The white bone pistol floating in front of him is also a white light great treasure, and the rune essence metal rushed forward. In the eyes of the two Yin Corpse sect disciple, this rune essence metal must be the same as the previous one, at least to be knocked out. But what makes these two Yin Corpse sect disciples unbelievable is that they only saw the two powerful green pillars of fire. When they touched the red brilliance of the rune essence metal, they disappeared without a trace. There is no impact on this essence metal. A surging sound of ka, the white bone pike speed struck the first face of this essence metal. However, this essence metal was just a slight sway, and it suddenly rushed down without a pause. The long gun in the hand slammed it, and the Yin Corpse sect, the sharp-nosed monkey, had not had time to react, even screaming. When I didn't have time to send out a surging sound, I was smothered by the rifle, and then the whole person was picked up like a small shrimp tied to a fork and smashed to the altar at the back. Spirit level low grade. The shapeshift great art suit against powerful energy doesn't even block this long shot. The hole whose chest was broken by this rifle almost broke him directly into two pieces. When it fell, the name Yin Corpse sect cultivator had no surging sound and could not die anymore. Ah! The face of the Yin Corpse sect cultivator saw such a scene, even the hair was almost scared to erect, where to pay attention to what shapeshift great art device cast, and then pull out a Deo technique shapeshift great art, then crazy escaped his life. Pu. But his idling is completely no shapeshift great art, and this red-skinned essence metal, which has been covered with spikes, has just escaped from the cyan mask, and a giant great treasure gun has been smashed from the rear. It was tied to him, and the cultivator's eyes just flashed a desperate look, and immediately, like a cultivator in the past, was spurred by a long gun and picked up into the altar. After killing the cultivator, the empty eyes flashed red, and there was no sense of essence metal, and a few of them flashed back to the top of the altar. Because of the dazzling red light at the top of the altar, there is no way to see what the essence metal is in the secret place. I don't think of this Cloud Realm sect, but I will also refine the demon-burying god general. At this moment, Wei Suo, who was hiding behind a stone tower 200 feet away from the altar, saw the whole process of killing the two cultivators of Yin Corpse sect. This demon-burying god general is equipped with a smashed shapeshift great art array, which is somewhat similar in performance to demon-burying crystal. The general force of shapeshift great art is ineffective. The strength of the treasure is about the cultivator of the equivalent to reality. Second, with your flying sword, you should be able to deal with this demon-burying god general easily. After hearing the surging sound of green-robed old man, Wei Suo walked out of the stone tower without moving the sound of the sound, and swept toward the secret place altar, but suddenly he was a fierce face. A change, toward the back of the altar, swept up. Just as his figure disappeared into the rear pagoda forest, a black light swept in from the left rear side of his original position and stopped in front of the altar. This black figure is awesome, and it is a skin like snow white but, a feminine wasteless black robes female cultivator.